very happy to have you here, happy to have you with us, and I have a very good friend of mine, Miss Lisa Anderson, that's joining me today that I'm so excited about. Um, Unfortunately, I apologize if you were expecting this to happen last week because my husband ended up having to go in the hospital, called me just 30 minutes before we were to go on air, and said that I needed to come and pick him up, which to that I replied, I'm busy. But he got the better of me. He said, no, I'm really sick. So we went to the ER. He spent a night in the hospital. But anyway, we are back on track today. And I want to introduce you to Lisa. Lisa and I met when we were in another company, and we were on the same team and happened to meet up at one of the events. Where was that, Lisa? Was that in Chicago?
Chicago, yes.
Chicago, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we met in Chicago, and then I saw Lisa posting some things. This was several months after that event, posting some things on Facebook about a different business that she was in, and she just kind of, there's little nips here and there, and I was like, no, I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. No, I'm not paying attention, and eventually I was like, yeah, let me just take a look here. Let's see what she's got going on. And so I did, and that's where I am now, and so happy to be in the company that we are now together. But we're not here necessarily to talk about that. We're here to talk about some other things, but I wanted to introduce you and let you know how we got to meet each other. And Lisa, you say hi. I'm going to go check out, make sure we're actually live while you're saying
live. So I think we are. It says live on my screen, so hopefully we are.
Good deal. Okay, yes. There we go. I see us. Yay! And just want to say, too, if you guys have any questions or comments about anything that we're talking about today, I have my Facebook page open. I don't know if Lisa does or not, but if you want to post things on our pages or send us private messages or something, questions or comments about anything that we talk about today, we're happy to look at those and address those. And so right now, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into what it is that we're going to be talking about today. And today, you see the title of what of our hangout today is "Get Your Mind Right." And obviously, the purpose of that is, for any lasting external change to happen in your life, for anything that, if you want your life to change, if you want your environment to change, if you want your finances, your relationships, anything it is that you're looking to change on your outer world, it all starts with what's going on in your inner world. And when you get into personal development, when you get into the internet marketing space, the MLM space, you hear this stuff all the time. It's about mindset. I don't know about for you, Lisa, but for me, it really, I guess I'm just a little hard-headed or slow or something. I don't know, but it took me a while to really grasp that. And it's like the more that I listen to it, the more that I realize how vital it is. So that's why we wanted to talk to you about this today, because it is so important to whatever kind of change it is that you're looking to make in your life, or if you're not looking for any major change, but you just want life to be a little sweeter, you want life to be a little better in some way, shape, or fashion, it all starts with your inner dialogue. So that's how I see it. What's your take on mindset and how it plays into your business, your relationships, your spirituality, anything, business, whatever?
Well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa Anderson, and I am a work-from-home mom, married mom of teenage triplets. I have 2 sons and 1 daughter. Both of my sons have autism. So, so the mindset thing really helps me out a lot, because when you factor that in, you really have to have patience, and you really have to be in touch with yourself, because if you're not, it spills over into your relationships and with your children and everything. And if you're all high strung and you don't have any patience, then your household, it's not going to be calm. It's not going to be, a happy place. So the mindset piece is huge for me. I like, a number of people. I like, Oprah Winfrey has a life class show. I love that show. She has some awesome people on there, and TD Jakes, and I like GoPro. I listen, Eric Worre, I believe his last name is, and Jeffrey Combs has a podcast. So there's a lot of different personal development pieces that I listen to and or read, which I should read more. I tend to listen more. But that's huge for me. It has helped me out a lot in a lot of areas, business and in my life.
Absolutely. And excuse me, I'm having a little breakfast while we're talking. Um, but you talking about you having the triplets. Oh my gosh! I mean that in itself, no matter the age.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that you have that many children to care for at one time that are completely dependent on you. Now I know yours a little bit older, but for so long, and with your sons having autism, they still have a huge reliance on you as being their center, and it does take. It would be very easy in that situation to just fall apart. And to do what you do, to be that stay-at-home mom and wife and run a business, you've got to have your stuff together. Because if you don't, you're falling apart. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when they were younger, I have fallen apart because it was really tough. And I didn't think I could do it. I didn't. I was over it. I'm like, I can't do it. So I really had to dig deep, and the personal development helped me a lot. So thank you.
Do you find now that with your kids being older, like I find myself, now mine are 12 and 15, but I find myself often going, gosh, I wish I had this stuff. I wish I had tapped into this kind of information 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, and how much of a different mom I would have been, how much of a different, I wonder how it would have shaped their personalities, if it would have shaped them to be, different in their outlook. Can you talk about how you, go ahead.
Well, my kids are 15 years old. So with that comes a bit of maturity, which has helped a lot. But even with my daughter, a 15-year-old young lady, that's a lot too. That's a lot too. But with the personal development, it has helped me have a better relationship with her. Because sometimes you get into how you were raised and how your mother was, but that's not necessarily what works for you. You know what I'm saying? So my mother and I are very different. So at first I was almost like my mother. As a mother myself, I was almost mimicking her, but that didn't work for me, so I had to switch that all up. And so it has helped me a lot. It has helped me a whole lot. A whole lot.
Yeah, I still find that I do a lot of things like my mom, and that's okay. I love my mom. She's great. I turned out okay. So I think she did a pretty good job. But definitely, especially in the area of, what would it be? In the area of it. Can't think of the right terms. One would be in finances. Now, where she had her stuff together much greater than me in actually putting her finances together, the way that she viewed or views finances versus the way that I have learned to through the training and the audios that I've listened to are completely different. Completely different. As an example, you and I were talking about before we got started about the fact that my husband doesn't have insurance, and that medical bill in days of old would have just freaked me out. Totally freaked me out. And my husband's trying to be freaked out about it. And he'll say, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about that? And I'm like, it's money. What are they going to do? Take our firstborn? I mean, they're not going to stay up at that hospital night and day fretting and biting their nails and wondering, are they going to pay me? Are they going to pay me? Are they going to pay me? So I'm not going to do it either.
Right.
That wouldn't have been the case, 2 years ago. I wouldn't have been feeling that way. But I do. You mentioned Jeffrey Combs, and I listen to him heavily. I listen to him pretty much on a daily basis, and he has really changed the way that I look at that. He talks about that all the time. Money doesn't worry about you. Why do you worry about money? I'm like, okay,
absolutely.
I'm starting to get that. It's starting to sink in. But another way that I look at the differences between my parenting style and my mom's parenting style, or really just a lot of others that I saw, especially of her era, is in the encouragement department, I guess, for lack of a better term. For being able to look at my kids and say, what do you want? And not saying, yeah, but what if that doesn't work out? Then what do you want to do? Which is where I was a few years ago. And so in that aspect, I wish I could go back and say, what do you want? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want out of life? You can get that. You can do that. I have faith in you. I believe in you. Now, where we do that now, that wasn't the case, just a few short years ago. So in that aspect, I wish that I would have had a hold of this information, that I would have taken a hold of it. I mean, it was out there. It was out there anyway. I didn't know it, didn't realize it. I wish I would have taken hold of that information and wonder how it would have changed and shaped my children's thoughts and beliefs about themselves differently. While I know it's good that they're getting it now, I wonder how it would have been different had they gotten it, 6 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yes. I've gone through the same thing, especially with my daughter. She likes photography. Now, a couple of years ago, I would have said, no way, you're not going to do photography. You're going to go to school for 4 years, and you're going to do blah, 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 blah. But now I'm like, if that's what you like, that's what you love, then go do it.
Absolutely.
It's not up to me to tell her, no, you can't do that. I don't want you to do it. It's not about me. It's about her and her life. She has to go on with her life. And I think as parents, sometimes we try to push our stuff off on our kids, or live vicariously through our kids. Maybe there was something we wanted to do growing up that we didn't do, and now we have children and we think, okay, now I'm going to make them do this because I wanted to do that growing up and I didn't do it. Now I have kids and they're going to do it. But you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to let them be their own person, and you have to respect that.
Right.
And that has helped me a lot. The personal development helped me a lot in that area. Because at first I was like, you're not going to be a photographer. You're going to go be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. But if that's not what you want to do, why push it? And she's also very good with, I had parent-teacher night the other night, and I was so happy when I left that school because I had such good things to say about her. And one of the main things they said was how well she works with the special needs students. And because of her brothers, she's well versed in that area.
That's
so
awesome.
They called on her to help out, and she's doing a great job. But
awesome.
I know that's not what she wants to do as a, what she wants to do for a living. But that's something that she has been blessed with, that gift of having a caring heart and being able to help out. So, just let your kids be who they want to be. I mean, of course, you gotta step in if they, start to go off track a little bit, but let them be, and your life will be so much easier,
Amen.
just respect who they are. You
Right.
have to. Yeah.
Right. And you saying that, I just totally lost my train of thought. Had something
That's
to
okay.
get you.
I'm having a heart attack.
Got too much
I'm
running
having
around.
a problem. You talking about
um,
my daughter being a photographer and all of that.
well, I know what I was saying. I used to joke years ago, and I still say this on occasion now. People ask you when you're young, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? And it's parents tend to kind of not push things on their kids. I mean, some parents do, but we try to guide them in what we think would be the best for them, or what we think would be the best future for them, when in fact, if you talk to most grown-ups, they still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. They're not doing something that they're passionate about. They're not doing something that gets them excited to get up out of bed and go tackle the day for. And isn't that what we want? I mean, we want it for ourselves. Why wouldn't we want that for our children? I want my children to follow their passion. I want them to
Hmm.
find out what is that passion and tie that into, and typically it is somehow tied into whatever your purpose is.
Hmm.
And that's a whole other kind of conversation. But
Right.
but tying that passion and that purpose in together, I want them to have joy when they
Yeah.
go to, I mean, and even if that is a job, if that's going to college and that's going and working for somebody else, that's great. If you love it, if you're passionate about it, that's awesome.
Hmm.
I'm a registered nurse for years. For years, people would ask me, anytime anybody would ask me, are you glad you went into nursing? My standard response was, I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. I loved
Right.
it. I absolutely loved it. That started to
Hmm.
change after about 10 years of doing it.
Hmm.
But I want for myself, for my children, for anyone and everyone to have that same sort of passion, no matter what it is that they go into. If it's that they want to, be a garbage collector, if they are passionate about doing that, awesome, because we need those people. We need some of everybody. But I
Yeah.
don't want somebody going to do that job just because it's a job and it's going to pay the bills.
Yeah, and they hate it, and that's not good.
I mean, you don't
It's not
want
a
that
good
for
thing.
anybody. You don't want that for your enemies. So you certainly don't want it for your children, the people that
No.
you love,
No.
that you gave birth to and you're raising, and you want to go, you want to watch them go out into the world and be joyful and be prosperous at whatever it is that they're doing.
Yes, because if you're not doing what you love, then that's a problem because then you don't want to go do it and you're in a bad mood. I see that when I go out in public, like to the store, and the cashier hates her job and she's rude to the customers because that's not what she loves. That's not what she wants to be doing. So you have to go after what you love so your life can be happy. Life is short. Be happy and do
Hey,
what you love. It's important. Do what
yes,
you
yes. I've
love.
asked people like that. You talking about the cashiers?
Hmm.
Sometimes you can tell that they're like, it seems like especially bad. Like it's usually, it's often bad, but sometimes it's just real bad. And I have
Yeah.
asked a couple of times, "Are you having a bad day today?" And inevitably, the times that I've asked that, they're like, "Yes, that person over there, my boss, did this or did that, or yes, I
Mhm.
got this going on at home, or whatever." And really, to know that can you can be a part of that, of acknowledging somebody's day and saying, "Hey, um, I notice, I care,
Mhm.
I'll think about
Right.
you, I'll pray for you," or whatever. I mean, shoot, just doing that
Mhm.
can brighten somebody's day, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The other day, my mother and I we had some bottles to return, and we're like, you know what? Let's bless somebody. So we went in there and we gave the bottles away. And this woman, she just started crying. She was just so happy that we gave her a couple bags of bottles because that extra maybe 50 or 75 cents was probably going to help her buy a loaf of bread for her family. You know what I'm saying? So, you
Wow.
just have to, sometimes you just have to, bless somebody else, even if it's a small amount. I mean, sometimes I don't have anything sometimes, but I'll give you some of what I have. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just have
Absolutely.
to, just really, bless someone because it means a lot. It means a lot to some people.
Well, and I'm sure you find this too. It ends up meaning as much or more to you as it did. It brings
Yeah.
you just as much joy as it does to the recipient
Yes, yes. I
of
couldn't
whatever
calm
that
her down.
is.
She was bawling. She was so happy. She was just crying and crying. And I'm like, wow, over some empty bottles that you get a nickel per bottle. It was something. It was something. So
That's
that made me
amazing.
feel really good. I felt really good
Absolutely. I
about
mean, that
that.
makes me want to tear up just hearing about it.
Yeah, yeah. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
And it's so easy to get caught up in ourselves. And I was listening
Yeah.
to a little clip of Tony Robbins' interview, and he's one that I just love to listen to as well. So inspirational. And one of the things that he talked about in that little clip was, where is your home? Where is your mental, emotional home? And how people who are, angry, who typically are angry, they're going to find something to be angry about,
Right.
even if they don't have anything going on in their life that there is to be angry about. People
Mm-hmm.
who are giving, they're going to find a way to give. People who
Right.
are loving, they're going to find a way to love, despite the worst circumstances that they may be in.
Right.
And another thing that he talked about is giving. You can't not give, it's a double negative, but you can't not give to somebody else and feel sad about that. If you're giving of yourself or of your goods, of your time, of your talents to someone else to help them out, I mean, that it gives you perspective of where you are and how much better, no matter where you are in life, no matter, there's always going to be somebody who has it worse off than you. Always.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Always. And it really, by adopting that giving spirit, it gives you a perspective of just how good you have things, just how many things that there are to be thankful for in your
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree. Because sometimes I'm like, man, I can really use this or I can use that. And I'm like, you know what? There's people out there that don't have anything. They have nothing. So even though you might think that you don't have anything, you have a lot compared to others. And you have to
Absolutely.
remember that.
And
Remember
really
that.
staying in that place of, I'm the first one to admit I have a pity party for myself every now and then. And
Yeah.
just say, I just don't like life. It's not good right now. And, I've got these little dueling voices going on in my head. There's that voice that says, girl, are you kidding me? Look at all the things you got going on in your life.
Right.
You have got a beautiful home. You've got beautiful children. You've got a loving husband. And then there's that other voice that says, shut up. I want to feel bad for a minute.
I want to have my moment. Yes, you have to think about that. Yeah.
But it
Because a
is a
lot of people.
choice. I mean, it is a choice to decide to stay in that moment, or that to have that pity party. But since I've
Hmm.
started on this journey of personal development, boy, that other voice sure is a whole lot louder. It's getting a lot louder, and those days are fewer and farther
Hmm.
between.
I definitely moved past my pity party a lot quicker than I used to. Because sometimes I used to just invade in the pity party. I must waddle in it. Now, if I find myself going there, I just, I snap out it pretty quickly because, I'm like, you're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. Just get out of that space and go to the positive space because, when you waddle in your self pity like that, it doesn't make you feel good at all. Your whole
No,
physical being feels horrible.
right?
You can't move past that. So yeah,
And
so personal development is huge help. It's huge.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that I heard him say on that little clip that he had gotten from a mentor of his, a saying was, stand guard at the gate of your mind and feed it something good. And if we're not doing
Yeah.
that, if we're not feeding it something good on a continuous basis, it is easy to get caught and stuck in that negativity, in that negative mindset that says, woe is me, everything's going
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, because
So I
you're in total
really,
control of what your thoughts are.
right, right, absolutely. And that gave me such a good visual, that I can imagine this little guard standing somewhere near my the input of thoughts
Mhm.
and saying, nope, nope, you don't get to get in. You come.
Mhm. That's right. Turn around.
And that kind of goes along with what I had talked about a couple of weeks ago in the series, which was, just talking about believing in yourself. And a lot of that self-doubt and that negative talk comes from not having a good self-confidence, not having the it's not confidence. You can be confident, but not having a good self-esteem, not feeling as if
Yeah.
you can tackle whatever is placed in front of you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have done this study or if you've ever heard of it, but I did a study through our Bible study at church, a Beth Moore study called Breaking Free. And oh my gosh, it was absolutely life-changing for me. And I have to take myself back to that point, fairly regularly, because it talks about that. There's a lot that she talked about, but the gist of it that I get is that our brains, if you consider your mind like four walls, and they are littered with graffiti, things that other people have told us, that we've heard directly, or things that we have inferred, that we perceived to be said about us based on a set of circumstances in whatever situation. And you take all those things over a lifetime, be it 15 years, 25 years, 35 years, 55 years, whatever, and it is just absolute trash graffiti that is littering your mind. And listening to inspirational speakers, listening to the Tony Robbins, the Jeffrey Combs, the Jim Rohns, listening to people like that on a daily basis is what. And besides, for me, being a Christian, and of course reading my Bible and getting, having that personal relationship and reading the truths that God says about me in His Word, is what. Those are the things that begin to erase all that crap that's written on those walls, and to begin to replace that with a beautiful wallpaper that says, I can, I am good enough, I am loved, I am capable, I am strong enough, I'm tall enough, thin enough, fat enough, whatever it is, I am, I'm okay. And that just had such a huge impact on me, because I can really visualize that. Now I put that alongside that little guard that says, wait a minute, is this graffiti coming in, or is this that new wallpaper I ordered? I don't want that graffiti. I've had enough of that. That's trash. Go away. That wallpaper, I like that. That's pretty. Put that up.
Absolutely. And that's important for young people too. And one of my daughter's classes is a personal development class, and I was so happy about that. And I walked in that classroom yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing personal development. That is huge, huge, especially at that age. You get it going early. Don't wait till you're like over 50 like me and then decide, oh, let me do this personal development
Right.
stuff.
Oh my
You have
gosh,
to
that's awesome. I didn't know that. They do that in school? They're doing that in her school?
Yeah, she's in the Idea Academy, and it's about personal development and entrepreneurship. So I was loving that. So I got into a big
Wow.
long discussion with the teacher about personal development, because I think it's huge, especially for young people, because they go through a lot of stuff, and they get bullied, and some my daughter, a couple of people were making fun of her because she's a good looking chick, but she knows that, and I'm glad about that. So when they say, oh, you're so ugly, I don't know why your mother kept you, type of thing, she's like, that's fine, I know who I am. So
And
she's
yes,
just that
she is. She is
child.
gorgeous.
That's the type of child which I'm happy about, that she's so confident, because I didn't have that confidence. At 15 years old, I would have been bawling my eyes out if somebody said that to me. But she's the complete opposite. And when I found out she was going to be, when she was taking a personal development class, I was like, oh, this is huge. This is huge for
That's
me. And,
awesome.
as a
Yeah.
mom, to know that she's getting going with that personal development piece at an early age. So when she becomes an adult, hopefully she'll already have that confidence and have that strength about her, and not worry about what somebody else says. If somebody else says something bad to her, it doesn't stick in her mind and, oh my gosh, that must be who I am. You know what I mean? So yes, I'm
That's
very
that's
happy about
amazing.
that.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have that, so I try to do little bits of that at the house, and
Mhm.
but boy, if there was a class that they could go and
Yes.
learn that, that would be awesome. And speaking of that, I heard, I don't remember, it may have been an interview actually on Jeffrey Combs with John Assaraf. I think that might have been who it was. And he was talking about how a multimillionaire friend of his would pay his son to read a book and write a book report on it. He'd pay
Mhm.
him like $1,000 or something, and they were personal development books.
Mhm.
And John Ashraf said, "Well, I didn't do $1,000. I told mine $500. That I would do
Right.
that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's brilliance!"
Right.
And so I've already approached my son and
Mhm.
said, "Look, here's a list of books. I want you to pick one, and I'll pay you. And depending on the book, it would be $20, $30, $50,
Mhm.
whatever. I'll
Mhm.
pay you to read that and write a book report, and we'll have some discussion about it." And
Oh,
he was
that's
like, "Oh yeah."
yeah. That money piece, that says a lot. They're right on it when you say that. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So
But I was
that's
like
awesome.
that, without barring having a class like what you're saying, that your daughter has access to, that she's
Yeah.
in. I think that's a great alternative for those
Mhm.
of us that don't have access to that, or don't have that in our school system, because how else are we going to get, you and I may listen to it 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, whatever. They're teenagers.
Mhm.
They're going to be listening to their music. They're going to be listening to their friends. They're going to,
Mhm.
and an enemy like what you're saying, where her supposed friend or enemy or whatever says you're ugly.
Uh-huh.
Well, you can have that. You can have somebody who is supposedly somebody that should care about you, or that you should be able to count on or trust, that gives you something that is poison. Or you can have somebody else that maybe you don't count on, that you wouldn't necessarily trust, and they can be giving you, sugar, something sweet that would be, a good for your brain to take in, and you don't
Mhm.
know, which are you going to listen to. Unfortunately, we tend to listen to the negative for whatever reason. We tend to believe that more, no matter who it comes from, whether it's coming from an enemy or a friend. But the fact is, we're human, and at their age, they're still, developing their sense of self and their who they are. Um, how else are they going to get that information on a routine basis? Or they're not going to get it from their friends. Unless they're in a class like you're talking about, they're not going to get it from their teachers. Um, and to the best of my ability, I can do it at home. Am I going to be perfect at it? No, I'm not, because it's an area that I continue to develop in as well.
Right.
So to be able to have access to that, and if not, barring that, then this was just a great alternative to me to say, hey, I want you to have this information, and I'm going to pay you to have this information, because I know in the long run, if you continue to take this information in, it's going to pay off in much
Yes.
bigger ways later on.
Hmm. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
So
And
who are, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's what they're going to be doing in the class. They're going to be reading books, and they're going to be writing reports about what they read and what they got out of it. And he also asked me for recommendations, so I have his email, and he asked me
Oh,
for recommend some books.
that's
So
awesome.
I'll be all over that. So
That's awesome. So speaking of that, what book is it that you have read that you feel like has made the biggest impact on changing your beliefs about yourself, about business, relationship, finances, whatever? What do you think has made the biggest impact?
I've read a lot of stuff. I really like Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. I
Hmm.
like that book. And I also like Joyce Myers has a book, Change Your Words, Change Your Life. That book is so awesome. It talks about, the way you speak, the words that you use, even with your self-talk. You have to talk positively to other people and to yourself, and it could change your life. If you always have that negative talk, then you're going to be a negative person. So that book, I thought that book was so awesome. I think I have it on my Kindle. I read that a while ago. Um, let's see who else. Oh gosh, I had so many books. But I think and Grow Rich. I've read that a couple of times because it really it spoke to me. That book really spoke to me. That's the book I really like the most because
Hmm.
I'm not a big reader. I'm more podcast or visual or whatever. But the books, I have read that book. I have that in book form, and I also listened to it. So that's how much I liked it. So but I would say Think and Grow Rich was my my favorite of all times.
And how has it changed your thoughts? Like, in what ways has it did it get the wheels turning?
That's funny because sometimes I'll read something in the book and I'll read it over again like, wow, that was so awesome. It's just the whole positive mindset, that whole positivity piece. Because sometimes as soon as you get up out of the bed in the morning, you're just right to the negative, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. Just the whole, how it just says to, you got to rise up and be positive. Just don't, like we were talking about, marinate in your self-pity. It just help. It just go there. Just let it go. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, and don't do that to others. Be positive. Be a positive force. And be some sunshine. You know what I mean? Just be some sunshine. Stop being so. You know. I just.
Eeyore.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
That's
cute in the comic book. He's not cute in real life.
yeah, that's what it's done for me, and it's helped me a lot. It really has helped me a lot because you go through things in your life and in your business and everything, and you just have to stay positive at all times.
Right.
And that's what I got out of the book.
Well, you saying that about, as soon as your feet hit the floor, in watching the movie The Secret, I don't know that I ever
I read that
read the
also.
full book,
Hmm.
but or did I? I don't know, but I did watch the movie.
Hmm.
I have that, watched it a couple of times, and one of the things that, speaking of John Ashraf, that he's the one that says this,
Right.
when my feet hit the floor in the morning, I start with gratitude.
Right.
And what a difference that remembering to be grateful for something changes. I mean, it totally changes your outlook. And I have found myself doing that at times. I'll, get up and I don't think about it necessarily when I first get up, but I'll go to the bathroom and I'm standing there in front of the mirror washing my hands or brushing my teeth or whatever. And one of those negative kind of thoughts wants to come
Mhm.
into play. Oh, I've got to do this today. I've got to do that today. But because I have this other stuff going on in my brain, there's two voices going on again. There's that one that says, your feet have hit the floor and you haven't said thank you for something, or I'm grateful for something.
Mhm. Mhm.
And one of the people that you and I were in a team with,
Mhm.
Amy, that was one of the
Oh.
things she was really big on was gratitude.
Oh
And
yes.
I started at one time, I was writing, I had a gratitude journal, and it
Mhm.
started off small, and I would write in the morning and in the evening things that I was grateful for. And I may only be able to think of three things.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, to say I was grateful for these things that happened, or in the morning, these are the things I'm grateful for. It was really harder for me in the morning, I think, than at the end of the day. But the longer I did it, oh my gosh, I can remember a few times sitting out on my back porch with that journal and writing and writing and writing. And I was
Mhm.
like, if I keep writing, I'm going to be here for days because
Right.
I can be grateful for so much. And
Mhm.
that really changes your thought process into that positive one that says, life is good. Life is good. There
Yes.
are bad things that happen. There are
Mhm.
things that are not uh, ideal. There aren't necessarily our choice things that happen to us or around us. But what are you going to make of that? Life is still good. I can
Right.
still There are still learning lessons. I've had some. I'm sure we all have. I've had some tragic things happen in my life. My oldest son, when Tim and I had been married for a couple of years, committed suicide. That is an awful, tragic event.
Mhm.
And of
Mhm.
course, it still upsets me at times if I really, think hard on it and dwell on it. Of course, it's something I think about a lot.
Mhm.
But there were good things that came from that.
Right.
Would I rather it had been that way than still have him here with us? No.
Right.
But I can dwell on the awful and the tragedy and the sadness and the sickness, and I can go down that
Mhm.
path, or I can say this was an awful thing. What good came out of it?
Mhm.
And Tim is the same way. He's thankful. Hey, I had 19 years that I got to spend with this child. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for that. I'm grateful for the people whose lives he impacted, because he still has people to this day that come up to him. Friends, people that were friends of his
Mhm.
sons,
Mhm.
people that were parents of friends of his sons that come up to him and say, watching him and watching y'all's relationship changed who I am. It
Right.
changed my relationship with my children.
Yes.
What a blessing.
Mhm.
I'd
Mhm.
rather focus on that. I'd rather look at
Mhm.
that side of it and say, thank you. Thank you. Look at the good that did come out of this. And there were people that approached him afterwards and said, my relationship with my son, daughter, children, whatever, completely changed because of what happened, because of watching you and watching what happened.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, that's like with my sons. When the diagnosis came down that they had autism, I was completely devastated because now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, my kids are have special needs. Like, who's going to take care of them when I'm not here? So I had all these things going on, but that I had to look at it like, okay, were they here? They've taught me how to have patience, and I've been able to bless other mothers because I have so much patience sometimes with them. They're like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, they've taught me the patience. They've taught me, you got to have patience. And the fact that they have special needs, they always say that God doesn't give you something that you can't handle, and you would not be a parent of special needs children if he didn't think that you couldn't handle that. He would not have given you those children. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's how I look at it. I have to you have to accept things that you can't change, and I accept that now. At first I couldn't accept it at all. But now I've learned to accept that and to accept them for who they are and to put things in place. They've helped me to know that okay, you got to put this in place because when you're not here, you have to make sure that we're going to be okay. We are. your responsibility. So it helped me. I had to step up to the plate
Right.
and make sure that things would be okay. And um, the whole patience piece, I didn't have the patience, and they taught me that. They're like, they taught me. I mean, they didn't come out and say, "Hey, mom, you gotta have patience," but because their disability and some of their behaviors, it has taught me that, mom, you got to have the patience. You have to just try to relax, and it's okay. Just meet us where we are.
But
Meet
you
us
know
where we
what, Lisa? You took that on yourself. There are people in the
are.
same or similar situations as you who still don't have that patience. And they can
Yeah.
say, well, they've tried to teach me patience, I'm just not good at it. You took that
Right.
on yourself and said, this
Right.
is what my children need. That's not my
Right.
natural inclination. That's not my natural state, but it's where I
Hmm.
need to be, and it's where I'm
Right.
going to choose to be. I'm going to learn to do that for them
Right.
and for me.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes.
So that speaks
Yes.
to
So
you. You know, that's
yeah.
something that you decided to take on yourself. And
Yeah.
look at,
Yeah.
you're telling me there are people who look at you and say, how do you do that? I love to see that you are
Hmm.
patient with your children. I want to learn how to do that too. So you're by you
Right.
taking that on, you're
Hmm.
influencing other people's relationship with their children.
Yeah, because it's a difficult road. It's a difficult road. So I just took it upon myself, like you said, to learn how to have patience and read and figure out what it is I need to do, and to be there, to be present, for my children, and they taught me that. I mean, because if they were typical kids, we might be having a different discussion right now. You know what I mean? Because it's just different. And just for me, it's just, as far as I'm concerned, I can't say for everybody else. But it just taught me, they have taught me a lot. They have taught me a lot. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, getting back to the book thing, I think another, a lot of what we've talked about is belief, and that is a huge, 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 huge
yeah.
component of
Hmm.
the whole mindset thing, because we have the walls of our minds littered with all that graffiti that says you
Yeah.
can't, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, strong enough, you're not capable,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
The self-belief thing is just a huge part of being able to make those changes, those lasting changes that you want in your external environment. But another part for me, and I know it's not just for me, I know it's huge in other people's lives too, is deservability,
Okay.
which really doesn't have anything to do with self-belief necessarily.
Hmm.
It's kind of a whole other track. And the book that has had the biggest impact on me and on that, how I think about that, how I view that, is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace
Okay.
Wattles.
Hmm.
That is one that I just have torn apart, and I would underline and highlight and go back and read over and over and over again. And things that I've taken hold of, where I am, especially growing up, for those of us that have grown up in the church, so
Hmm.
often we're told, you don't deserve anything, you don't deserve the goodness, you don't deserve salvation, you don't deserve good things that come to you, you don't deserve prosperity, blah, 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 blah. And actually, we had See You at the Pole yesterday. Was I think it's a national event, and my daughter goes to a small private Christian school, and so we were out there at See You at the Pole yesterday, and they were talking about, the gentleman that came and spoke to us, who was a preacher, was talking about that, was talking about deservability and how we don't deserve what the salvation that we got, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I understand that. I get that
Hmm.
I'm never going to be good enough to my Heavenly Father
Hmm.
on my own abilities,
Right.
right? But He thinks I deserve it enough to have sent someone to save me. He thinks I am deserving enough to be saved.
Hmm.
He thinks I deserve to live a prosperous life, and he tells me so in his book. If I'm doing, and again, this is just in my spiritual walk,
Right.
my spiritual
Hmm.
life, and other people have, they they come to it on their own terms. But for me, he tells me, I want you to live abundantly. I
Mm-hmm.
came so that you could live and live life more abundantly. I want you to live a prosperous life. And so that book has been huge, huge in changing that whole deservability dialogue. And really what started before I even got the book, another gentleman that we were in a company with, Tony, listening to him, he had a lot of that kind of self-talk, and teaching how to get over that type of self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really first opened my eyes to it. But then
Right.
reading that book has just been huge, and I want to go back and read it again and again and again, because these things, any of what we're talking about, be it the deservability, the self-belief, any of that, it's not something that you just read a book or you listen to an audio and bam, you're healed, you're all of
No.
a sudden everything has changed. It is an ongoing process. Look, it didn't take me 30 minutes of listening to something to get all that graffiti in my head. It's going to take
Right.
more than 30 minutes to get rid of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
You
is
have to
that
do it
something
over and
that
over
you've had
again.
an issue with, the
Yes.
deservability thing?
Well, yes. I would say yes, because like you said, you have all that clutter, like, and you think you don't deserve it or whatever, but you do deserve it. You deserve all the riches or all the goodness that's happening in your life, and you have to receive it. You have to receive that because the clutter will shut you down. I had a situation where I was friends with a young lady, and technically she was probably young enough to be my daughter. But she would tell me things, and she had some indiscretions. And so, of course, when you first meet me, I'll tell you, don't tell me something if you don't want my opinion. And so, she would tell me these things, and I would say to her, I don't think that's a good idea. You're sort of going down the wrong road, and maybe you should rethink that. And then one day I was in her company, and she had some other girlfriends there, and heard some pretty horrible things she was saying about me. And it just cluttered my mind. I just could not let it go. I felt so awful to think that she thought that way about me. And I had to really sit down and say, that's not who you are. That might be her perception, but that's not who you are. You know what I mean? And you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to feel that way because someone else feels that way about you. What do you feel about yourself is important. What do you feel? Who do you
Absolutely.
think you are as a person?
Yeah, but isn't it, it's so easy to latch onto that stuff and to let it
Yeah.
marinate and
Oh
and
my
and
gosh,
and
it was
for it to get the
devastating.
better of you. I mean, it really
Mhm,
is. It's so
mhm,
easy for that to happen. And I guess because if you live in that day in and day out, year after year after
yeah.
year, not
Mhm,
knowing any better, not realizing any better, then of course
right.
it's easy to go back to those old wicked ways
Mhm,
of letting that trash in.
mhm. That was some time ago, and I got past it. It took me a long time to get past it, but I got past it. But it did, you know,
Well, you
cluttered
said
my
something that
brain.
was key to me. I wrote it down. You said, when
Mhm.
we were talking about those good things and deservability, you said you have to
Uh,
receive it. And
yes.
that is a key with a lot of people, and myself included. Something that I have struggled with in the past is receiving it. And think about
Mhm.
yourself. Think about if somebody pays you an honest compliment. If they say, "Hey, that's a really pretty outfit," or "Oh, your hair looks nice," or "You do this really well. I love it when you tell a joke."
Mhm.
You give great hugs. I love watching you interact with, children, with older people, whatever. You make things so light. How do you take that? When somebody gives you an honest, true compliment, how do you take it?
Right.
And I know for myself, in days of old, it'd be like, oh, that's nothing. No, no, that I didn't do
Mhm.
anything special. I didn't do anything that nobody else would have done.
Yeah, I
And
couldn't take
that
it
that
either.
comes with that whole deservability and receiving it,
Mhm.
really receiving that compliment, and maybe being humbled by it and saying thank you. That's so sweet.
Mhm.
And that's huge, is to be able to receive what's coming at you, be it in compliments, be it in money,
Mhm.
in prosperity in one way or another, in whatever. Being able to receive, when you can receive it and receive it openly and willingly, you have, to me, you have crossed a bridge.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have, because that's a hard thing. I had trouble with that. I was much younger, but I could not take a compliment. I mean, if somebody said, "Oh, that's a great outfit," or "Your makeup looks great," or what, I'm like, "No, come on, not really." Blah blah blah. I would always have a negative feedback, but now, even if I just say, "Oh, thanks," "Thank you so much," because sometimes even if you don't think that, still say thank you. Receive it.
Right,
Receive it.
right.
Because you
Like, I
might
love
not
that
think
voice
that.
of yours.
Right.
You got that, you like that little vixen, hot mama voice. I love it.
Oh, I've been asked to do voicemail. Some people contacted me and asked me to be the voice on their voicemail. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, "Are you
That would
kidding
be
me?"
awesome.
I'm like, "Really?" That was pretty funny.
Look, you still have contact with those people. You should call them back up and say, "I'm ready now, and here's my price."
Yeah, right. I mean, of course, sometimes when people call me on the phone, they call me sir, and I have to correct them. But I'm over that. That used to really bother me, but now I'm over that. I'm like,
I
"No, it's
love it.
ma'am."
I love it. Yeah, I had a friend, and I think about him often. It was somebody I was in the military with, and I have never. His name was Brad, and he was so giving and generous of himself. And Brad made you feel like you could tackle the world. There were
Mhm.
things that I would not dare to have done or to have thought that I was capable of. In fact, told him, "I can't do that."
Mhm.
And it was myself and a friend of mine that he was always pushing, 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 pushing. Yes, you can. Stop your whining. Quit your complaining. Pick
Mhm.
up your stuff and go. You can do it. And lo and behold, whatever he'd tell us to do, sure enough, we could, and we did. And I had never met anybody as encouraging as that. Unfortunately, he didn't have it for himself. While
Okay.
he was that way with others, he didn't have that internal, self-esteem, which I didn't know. I didn't know that at the time, but he committed suicide.
Wow.
He was going through a lot. Had gone through a lot of
Mhm.
different issues, and it just floored me
Mhm.
when I found that out. Now that's been 15 over 15 years ago that happened, but I was like, this person who is so encouraging, who won't let you say, "No, I can't,"
Mhm.
that it was so sad to me that he didn't have that for himself.
Yes.
And I want to be that person that somebody says, "I wouldn't have done this if it weren't for you." I want people to
Right.
say that too. I want to be that encourager, that person that instills belief, that self-belief in others, but I want to have it for myself too.
Yes. Yes. Because people wear a lot of masks, and outwardly, you would think they have it all going on, everything's good, but behind that mask, there's a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find people who have that outward positivity, and that doesn't have that doesn't wear a mask, because we all wear a mask. I mean, let's face it, we all wear many masks. Sometimes you're around a lot of people, and you seem to have it all going on, but in the back of your mind you're going, "I'm dying here." You know what I mean? But I don't
Yeah.
want them to know that. But you have to get that for yourself, and you gotta you know have that, let go of that self doubt, and just have that positivity for yourself too,
That wallpaper. Put
not
that
just for
wallpaper.
others.
Replaster.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to other people who may be watching us or may see this at some later time? What do you recommend to begin to change that process, that inner dialogue, that self-talk, to one of self-belief and I am and I can? What are your recommendations?
Well, I do recommend that you do read some personal development books. There's a lot of personal development books out there, and there's a lot of podcasts, or you can get it on audio, but you have to listen to it and or read it every day for at least 30 minutes. And like you said, keep a gratitude journal. That helps a lot. Like write down what do you feel grateful for. You have to have something you feel grateful for. I mean, it could be like you said. It could be the smallest thing. The fact that you can get up and make yourself a piece of toast and have a cup of tea. You're grateful for that. Like when I get up in the morning now, like I said, I used to get up and like, oh, I don't want to do this, and I have trouble sleeping. I'm like, oh, I couldn't sleep last night, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But now I get up in the morning and I have water on my nightstand. I take a drink of water and I said, thank you, Lord. I even stand up and get out the bed, and that helps me. That gets you on your way. So maybe before you get out of the bed, just sit there for a moment and think about what am I grateful for? Or say, this is going to be a great day. Today I'm going to be abundantly blessed. Or today I'm going to be, helpful to someone. Or I'm going to have a great day. Just say something positive before you even rise up out of that bed. Because if you don't, it's going to mess up your whole day. Because your mind is going to be going all these different places. But make sure they're going in a positive direction. And that will help you along with your day.
Yeah, you saying that about getting up in the morning, I find myself doing that frequently, is saying thank you for a peaceful rest. I don't have trouble sleeping generally. My husband is just mesmerized by that. He said we can be mid-sentence and, in 5 seconds you're like snoring. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for that. On occasion,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't sleep as well as I feel like I could have or should have, but I still say thank you for a peaceful night's rest. Maybe I didn't sleep
Right.
like I could have, but I had a comfortable place to sleep. I had
Mm-hmm.
a roof over my head. I had somebody
Right.
that loves me beside me, and I'm in a safe place. And thank you for
Mm-hmm.
that. Or thank
Yes,
you for the peace
absolutely.
of just having 5 or 6 hours or whatever, even if it wasn't a great
Quietness.
night's
Mm-hmm.
sleep. Just thank you for that
Mm-hmm.
peace.
Yes, yes, and that's what I say. That's why I just say thank you. Just thank you for whatever it is. Even if I, woke up every 5, 10, 15 minutes all through the night, I still am thankful that, like you said, a place to sleep, and I have my husband laying next to me, or I have my kids right in their bedrooms. I just say thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have so enjoyed this, and I just want to ask you before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts that you have for anybody or anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to talk about?
No, I would just like to say, just be peaceful. Just go in peace. Just give yourself that gift. Give yourself the gift of peace and positivity and prosperity. And just say an affirmation in the morning. Say, like you said, say I am. Say I'm beautiful. Which I have I've been blessed to have a husband who tells me I'm beautiful every single day. He does not miss at all. So I've been blessed that way. But tell yourself, say I'm beautiful. Oh, girl, you look good today. Or or that's a nice outfit you got on today. Well, you looking good. Or no, man, that dinner was good. Just be good to yourself. Be good to yourself, because if you're not good to yourself, you cannot expect others to be good to you.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. If people want to get to know you better or they want to work with you, how can they get in touch with you? Where should they go?
They can email me at anderson.ljh@gmail.com, or they can connect with me on Facebook. I'm Lisa Hawley Anderson. Let me see. What is my
Spell Holly for those that don't
H
know.
Hawley? Lisa Hawley, Hawley Anderson, Anderson. As you know, you have the same last name. Yeah,
Yes, before I was married, I was Pamela McCoy. I mean, not Pamela McCoy. I was
Pamela
Pamela
Anderson,
Anderson.
right, right. Or they can
Yes.
connect with me on Facebook now. Um, yeah, just Lisa Hawley Anderson, or my email, anderson.ljh@gmail.com. And I'll get right back to you. I'm not hard to find. I'm easy to find. I'm always around. Ooh,
Lisa, I have really enjoyed this, and I thank you so much for coming on with me and hosting with me today. I've enjoyed what we've talked about. It's made me feel good. I don't know if it's made you feel good, but just to be able to
yes, it's
talk
great.
and share this with somebody else who,
Hmm.
you know, who thinks the same as
Yes.
we do. And guys, that's what we're talking about when it comes to that personal development is your brain doesn't know the difference. If you're listening to that audio, your brain doesn't know the difference if that person is sitting right across from you talking or that you're listening to it on an audio. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It just hears it. And this having these kind of open, honest, empowering conversations is powerful, and it's huge in how you can change and shape what's going on in your inner world.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lisa. I have enjoyed this. I look forward to doing it again. I love you, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.